Red light special. Let's do it. Oh,
Okay.
you see what kind of energy I'm on, huh?
I see. I see. Yep. You
All right.
be you be climbing and I be coming down.
No, I think the opposite. I think you start off on a lower energy than me, but then you go up. Where I think as the pod continues, I start up here and we going down here.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah. By the end of the pod, I'm like, all right, let's go. At the end of the pod, you like it seemed like you could stay for another 40 minutes.
Hmm.
So yeah. Anyway, welcome back. This is Weeknights. We're back. And we're gonna talk about our field trip in just a moment.
Yeah.
And gotta talk about the field trip. And what else I was gonna say? Nothing. I guess that's it. Welcome back to Weeknights, where we're here 5 days a week talking about all the good stuff. Yeah, I know the stuff. And that's it. Let's get to it. Who I'm here with today? Same person I'm here with every day. 5 nights a week. You know what I mean?
Except for this
Big
week.
co-host energy.
Yep. I'm Dash, aka Dashing D, aka the real king of R&B.
And you look
How
like it
that mean?
today. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Today
I'm
you
just
look real
going.
stylish, like you about to, like you just came off the music video shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, guys, that's a wrap. I gotta do this little podcast thing. I'll see y'all in the morning. All right?
Well,
You
thank
got me?
you.
All right, cool. No, yeah, no, that was great. That was great. Tomorrow we'll be back. We wrap that up tomorrow. I want to see that. I want to see that. All right, let me record this podcast now.
I appreciate that. You know, I get cold while we're doing the pod because I sit next to a window. So
Got it.
I had to put on a little jacket
Ah,
today.
listen, I feel you. But even the hair, you know what I mean? You're doing something different
Oh,
today, looking
thank
real
you.
rock star-ish.
I,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
tried to do a little something. You would love my shirt. Wait, can you see it?
Ninja Turtles.
No.
Oh,
No.
Mandalorian. All right.
Uh-huh.
Let me find out. They let you buy a Star Wars shirt? They
Don't
didn't
do
card you
that.
at the door?
Don't be like that. Don't be like that. How rude. How
They
rude.
didn't card you? They wasn't like,
Introduce yourself so we can move on.
they didn't ask you, can you answer this trivia
I'm
question
not doing
first?
this. I'm not
What
doing
is,
this.
what?
I'm not doing this. Mm-mm. Nope.
All right. And I am JD, aka He Who Pods. And that's it. I don't have another alias for y'all. And I didn't come off of shooting a music video. I'm not as fly as my co-host. I just got a lot of opinions. And let's get into our opinions.
What is that feedback that I'm hearing?
Is it this?
Yeah.
All right, I gotta stay still. Sorry.
Yeah. Um,
It's this mic.
you probably just need a clip to
Maybe.
clip
The
it together.
problem is I listened back and in old podcasts, and I'm gonna leave all of this in editing so people can comment otherwise. But when I first started using this and I left it like this, it would rub against my shirt anytime I moved or nodded, and it would sound like.
It's also
So I
changing
start,
the volume.
yeah. So I started holding it like this to avoid the noise.
Yeah, you probably just need a clip and puts it closer to your mouth.
I
And
actually have one, but I'll look for it later.
we could do it tomorrow.
It's
Um,
always tomorrow.
yeah. So we went on a field trip.
That's right. Where'd we go? Africa, Wakanda. Nah, I'm just kidding.
We went to India.
We went to India. We went down south,
We went down south. The
deep south. Good job. Where else we went? Let me see. Went there another place?
Germany.
Oh, Germany. Look at that. Same time.
Yeah. So we took a trip. We went on an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
To see the movie Origin,
Mm-hmm.
or rather, through the movie Origin, we went to those places.
Right.
An Ava DuVernay film. We know
Yep.
Ava DuVernay is super talented.
Yes.
Star of the movie is Anjanou Ellis.
All right. We're back after a brief commercial break. Taylor was the name.
Anjanou Ellis Taylor.
Yama.
Yeah, so I always love seeing her. I think she's super talented. So I was really excited about seeing her in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Blair Underwood makes an appearance.
He did. I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, look at
And
Blair.
yeah,
Blair is there.
Blair was there. Um, Niecy Nash was in it.
Yeah, that was a good surprise. She definitely brought a lot of flavor.
Audra McDonald was in it.
I
I'm
don't know
sure
who
I'm.
that is.
Um, she played the woman that she interviewed.
Oh, Miss.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So it was a very interesting cast, very
You somehow
talented
forgot
cast.
everyone except the white man.
I don't know his name.
Excuse me, you
I've
somehow
gotta be.
said everyone except the white man. His name
I
is
gotta be honest.
John. Hold on. I got the
I didn't
cast
for,
pulled up right here.
I didn't forget him. I just didn't know that man's name, so I didn't want to.
John Bernthal,
Yep, he was in it.
the guy who
I
played the
just didn't.
Punisher.
I just
That's
didn't
what
know his
he's like
name.
famous for recently.
Right, but now I recognize him. You were talking about him before, and now I'm like, oh, that guy.
Yeah.
I know that guy. So
All right. Well, wait. Why did we take off to go see this movie? Let's address it.
okay, so it was a limited run from the beginning. It
Right.
wasn't showing in all theaters, and usually when that happens, it's also happening at inconvenient times or days.
Yep.
So and and as I'm sure most people know, anything that's in theaters, as time goes by, it whittles the times and days whittle down anyway.
Right.
So we had tried to see the film before,
Yep.
and it wasn't. It just
Convenient.
never really worked out. It was never a convenient day and time.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden they're like, hey, because I guess a lot of people were saying that they wanted to see it, but they just couldn't. They either wasn't in an area where they could see it, or it just wasn't in theaters anymore. And so they decided to do a final showing on February 28th,
Right.
um, all theaters, and so people could go and see it one last time before they
Yep.
took it out of the theaters.
Yeah. So it was a one
So
day only movie event.
yeah. So, we were like, hey, why not? We talked about this before. We should definitely try to see it. Um, normally we would faithfully I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Normally we would faithfully I'm sorry. I just had a random thought about something and it just completely took my mind away. But we would make sure that we give the people what they need and get their weeknights episode. But
Right.
this was an extenuating circumstance, so we went ahead and canceled the pod so we could go see it.
Yeah, we both wanted to see the movie, like you said. It was this one night only event,
Hmm.
and we had a pod meeting, and we
Yeah,
decided time for a pod field trip.
we decided as a pod squad that we
Oh
should.
man, don't say that again. A pod squad.
They actually call us that at work, which is really funny. But anyway, so we decided we decided that we should go see this film, and I'm glad we did. It was really interesting.
Okay.
I I didn't know I didn't know exactly how it was going to come together. Um, and I know this is based on a book. This is based on a book that was written by Isabel Wilkerson.
Yep.
Isabel Wilkerson is a real person. So it's about her. Um,
And her journey
what
putting this book together.
and her journey putting the book together, which is a really tragic journey.
Yep.
Um, Spoiler alert. Um, she dealt with a lot of tragedy before she even got started writing the book.
Yeah, I would say the
Um,
tragedy inspired the book.
yes, I think in a lot of ways the tragedies inspired inspired the book, and kind of motivated her to keep the book going too. Like the third time around, the third loss that she experienced, it's like I think at that point she was like, okay, I have to push forward, and she kind of says it at some point in the film.
She said to her
Um,
editor, her editor said, "You're going to make the deadline, the self-imposed deadline." And she said, "Yeah, no one is, no, what she said? No one's left around to push me, so I have to push myself."
I have to push myself, and that broke my heart. But also, I was like, I'm so glad that she pushed through that, because I feel like when you experience loss, you're also trying to you're looking for something to grab hold onto. So
Hmm.
understood the mechanism and how that kind of worked in her mind. But yeah, I didn't expect the story that was around it. But I'm glad that it kind of gave it shape. I think if it was just about the book she was writing, it would probably be a little bit too serious, or it was all serious, but maybe too sterile. Like it needed some color, and I think that her story added to that. So I appreciated that. I thought it was a little long. Um,
It just dragged. It was a
yeah,
little under, it was a little under 2 hours.
yeah. I felt like it kind of it kind of did drag on, and um I know that stories like that you have to be careful with the way that you tell it. You don't want to rush through it, but um yeah, I felt like it was a little bit long. But overall I felt like it was a great story.
Hmm.
I might have even wanted to see this like on television. I know that Ava DuVernay is like really excited that it made it to theaters, and I'm happy for her as a director. I think that's great. It's a great accomplishment whenever your work makes it to film and it makes it to theaters. But I do think that I probably would have preferred to watch this as like a four-part series. Um, you know, I don't know, on OWN or something, which is where it would have probably landed if it didn't make it to theaters. But that would have been my only thing. I thought it was a good story. I just felt like yeah, it was a bit for me, and like you said, it dragged on. But as far as the connections that were made between the different cultures, I thought that was really smart. And I know that's not necessarily Ava DuVernay's doing, that's Isabel Wilkerson's doing, but I just think that's really smart. It made me want to read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
The movie was really sad. Let's start there. Um, excuse me. I had no idea this was going to be this sad or this deep. Um, I mean, I guess going in, we knew a little bit about the depth, but
Hmm.
I didn't know it was going to be deep like this.
Yeah.
It was both about history and systems and defining racism, which is kind of how all of that started. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert. The journey kind
Or,
of starts with a conversation about the differences and the nuances in racism and how racism is kind of this blanket statement. And she's like, I got to learn more. And,
yeah.
I really like that this was so deep, but it did also make it kind of painful to watch in a sense,
Oh, it was hard to
because
watch at times.
they are reliving all of these tragic moments throughout different historical events, and different people's lived experience. So, kind of their personal histories.
Hmm.
Um, it was a really good film. I think they did a great job of balancing all the things that were going on. Obviously, it
Hmm.
was very serious and very sad, but there was also humor. There was also humility. Um, Even the scene where you see dude showing up with the MAGA hat and being a dick to her because she's a black woman, she finds a way to kind of humanize him and give them some relatability. And you see how that
Hmm.
changes things. In that moment, he sees another person struggling, not a black woman who he's against.
Yeah.
Um, and so they did a really good job of balancing all of these things. And also, I think a really good job of putting you in different perspectives each time that they change
Hmm.
uh, the story from the focal point. They did a really good job of kind of putting you in the in the lens of that person,
Hmm.
right? Where like when the little boy goes through what he goes through, it's kind of like I'm seeing things through the lens of the little boy. It's almost like you're the little boy at that point as the viewer.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And she speaks
um,
about that at the end. At the
well,
end,
we
there's
we
like a
saw
little
the Q&A, yeah.
yeah, there's a little Q&A, and she speaks about how important it was for her to play with um different
Filming
camera
styles.
styles. And yeah, so and you're absolutely right. When the little boy is experiencing what he's experiencing towards the end of the film, yeah, you feel like you are there. You feel like you are actually a part of what's happening. And
Yeah.
it's really cool and also really jarring because it was not a it was not a pleasant moment.
Right. Well, they did. That's what I'm saying. I think they did a great job of doing that throughout the film, because at one point you see someone's child get taken away, and the way it happens, same thing. It's almost like your child is getting taken away as you're sitting there. You see things through their
Hmm.
lens, and when they're showing the Nazis burning all the books, it's like, no, it almost, the way that they did it, it's almost like you're watching your heritage get burned away. Um, so it's really interesting the way they did it. I think they did a great job of showing us nuance, showing
Hmm.
us how things have been twisted throughout history. Um, and even though we saw all of that, the narration of the pillars towards the end was a pivotal moment.
Hmm.
And I love the way that they broke that down, because they did exactly what the cousin's character was saying, which is you have to be able to break down this really crazy concept, this concept that is being broken down by PhDs and by
Hmm.
historical uh, literary masters
Yeah.
in simple terms, so people can understand it that
Hmm.
don't have any of those things.
Right.
And so I thought all of that was really good. Really sad movie,
Yeah.
but really deep movie. I would put this on the must watch list. I think more people need to see this movie. Hopefully,
Yeah.
this, our little podcast helps bring a spotlight to it.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely something that I think more people need to know about, more people need to see, because more people need to understand the caste system, which is really what all of this is about. And which is the name of the book, right? It's called
Hmm.
Caste: The Origins of Our Descent, or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, that's what the book comes from. It says it in the film, and even in the trailer. If y'all go look up Origin movie trailer, it says it in the
Yeah.
trailer. But
Yeah. And the author is
um,
Isabel Wilkerson.
yep. So
Um,
and what's interesting too is this is not even her first book. This is her second book. She won
it's a
a
second book.
Pulitzer Prize for her first one, and so that's really interesting. Um, and she comes from a journalistic background. In the movie, I think it was the New York Times she used to write for.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's really interesting to see how her life events and the Trayvon Martin case kind of sparked all of this
And the book was released, I believe.
in 2020.
It was released in 2020. It was either several months before the George Floyd killing or a few months after, but it was in
It
close
was right. It was right before.
proximity.
Yeah.
So we all know what the year of our Lord 2020 was like, in a lot of different ways, but um, it's such important work uh, that the fact that it came out that year just um, and it did so well, I'm sure has to do with how charged everyone was in 2020. Um, but thinking back to how that year went, and I'm talking less about the pandemic and more about just social relations that were coming to a head during that year.
Hmm.
It was such an important piece of work to come out when it did. Um, and like I said, I'm very curious about the book and will probably purchase the book because one, I just feel like the concepts, being able to, you know me, I'm always fascinated by people who can string concepts that you don't necessarily put together, people who are able to string them together and make sense of why they're connected.
Right.
I always fascinated by that. And I always want to learn more about that. I just think that it takes a really good storyteller to be able to do something like that. And you know, if I'm being honest, I'm always looking to be a better storyteller. So that to me was pretty incredible that she was able to think of all these things and um, the fact that the Trayvon Martin case. So, like you said, it was things that happened in the past that you know she was reckoning with, but also things that were very current. Because Trayvon Martin had just happened when she first kind of starts to think about what does all of this mean,
Right.
and she starts to question what is racism and what is it not.
Right.
And I think that's something that we don't really, we just kind of, like you said, it's this blanket thing that we know and we understand on a high level, but we don't, many of us who are not scholars don't necessarily get into the weeds about how deep it runs or how much intersectionality there is when it comes to racism.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. I'm rambling, but I just think she has such a smart, brilliant mind to be able to even ask these questions and put it into words for people to read. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but it is a sad film, and I will say, I think everybody should watch it, but I also think everybody should be mindful that uh, definitely a trigger warning on this film if
Yeah.
you are sensitive about, um, you know, I think we all know the Trayvon Martin case very
Hmm.
well as far as what happened. If things like that trigger you, you got to be prepared for that. Um, if things that happened in the slave trade and transporting slaves, um, this is a very something that this film had a lot of layers, and one of the layers to it was it visually depicted these things.
Yeah.
It did not shy away from showing you exactly what happened. She talks about the untouchables in India. You see how they worked and what they did to protect their skin, and so all of that is very well. I had a visceral reaction to
Yeah. It's done on purpose.
right. So you know, just I just want to put it out there because I do want to encourage people to go see it, but I also I understand that some people are sensitive to those things. There were moments where I had to look away because I was just like, okay, this is a lot. Um, but you know, everybody's not as squeamish as me. So, um,
Gotcha.
but yeah, I thought it was great.
Agreed. All right. That is our origin movie review. Let's move on. So, um, see where we're gonna go next. Let's go. Let's go back. Let's keep it on historical stuff for a minute. Uh, it has been announced that Adidas got a special sneaker coming out this summer. They are doing a Bob Marley sneaker. It will be part of their summer collection.
Charlie.
Yep. It'll be part of their summer collection. His estate has been involved and approved of both the design and the sneaker being released. Um, and so they have pictures of the sneaker. You can see there's a picture of him on the tongue. His signature is on the side towards the back. Um, so, I mean, I don't have a deep dive, but I thought it was worth mentioning that this is happening, especially off the heels of the One Love movie, which seems to be doing pretty good in theaters.
No woman will cry.
Yep.
So let me break it down. Let me give you a little bit, not a deep dive, but let me give you a dive. So, this was revealed in the film, and I don't know, I don't remember if I mentioned it before, but I did see One Love, and it was revealed in the film. And I'm sure people knew this. Like, I'm sure people who are really familiar with Bob Marley. I personally did not know this. So shame on me because I feel like it's something I should have known. But apparently, he always wore Adidas. Like, that was his thing. So throughout the film, Kingsley Ben-Adir is wearing Adidas the entire time. His sneakers were Adidas, his clothes were Adidas, everything. That was his thing.
Got it.
He was a pretty simple guy in terms of the way he dressed and whatever. It was just sneakers and like track pants and tracksuits and stuff. But that's what he did. He played soccer. There's a lot of scenes of him playing soccer.
Football.
So, yes, exactly. But yeah, so Adidas was very important to his brand. In fact, people were saying they don't even know how there's never been a Bob Marley sneaker or some sort of Bob Marley Adidas something because of how much he supported the brand when he was alive. I thought that was really interesting. I had no idea that was a thing, but apparently it is a thing, so it makes sense why Adidas would be collaborating with his family at this point to create a shoe to honor him.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little fun fact about Bob Marley. He was an Adidas guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I did not know that. It does say in the press release that there have been Bob Marley inspired sneakers before, but never a Bob Marley official release. So that's also very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why. So it's something that comes out, something that gets mentioned in the film.
Okay. Yeah, I still haven't seen it. I gotta take some time to go see it.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Let's keep it on film. Then we'll leave film alone. The
Okay.
Freaknik trailer has dropped. Freaknik comes out in March.
Shake that ass, man. Make that coochie breathe.
Oh my god.
Hands on your knees. Hands on your knees. Hands on your knees. Shake that ass for Drake. Now shake that ass for me. That was what the moms and the aunties were doing back at Freaknik.
Yep.
I was never old enough to go. I knew about it at some point in life, as I got a little older. But I was never old enough to go. It was pretty much over by the time I would have been
Eligible.
going. Yeah. But I knew about it. I knew about it because one thing I always tried to do was be tapped in. I was very excited about college. And I used to try to
Okay.
like learn all the things. I needed to know what all the cool college kids were doing. And
Oh,
that was
okay.
one of the things. But it kind of dissolved by the time I would have been able to go to Freaknik. But yeah, hands on your knees, hands on your. We're about to see what all the aunties and uncles were doing.
Yep. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I'm laughing too because we've talked about this before. It
How
was
nervous the internet was when it was announced.
Oh, it was very controversial when they first said there was going to be a Freaknik doc. This was probably over a year ago when they first started
Yeah, way
talking
more
about
than
this,
that.
and now it has a release date. I'm so excited. I just don't want women to be shamed. I just feel like if you're gonna shame, Send your shame to everybody who was there.
Yeah, yeah. Equal
Don't
shaming.
shame women. Exactly. Don't just shame the women. And honestly, people were out there having a good time, and
Comes out March 21st on Hulu.
yes. So I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. No,
I
we
feel
watching.
like after all the right. I feel like
What day
after
of the week
all
is
the
that? Hold on, let me see. March 21st is actually a special day in my family. It's a Thursday.
oh, is it?
It's my godson's birthday.
Oh, nice,
Tez, my
nice,
man Tez's son. You know what I mean? For those who watch Man Cave Monday,
nice,
Tez's son's birthday
lovely,
is the 21st of March.
lovely, lovely.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I may have to forego Freaknik on that Thursday, you know.
ah,
But
man.
I'm gonna watch it though, like this.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to see if I see any of my aunties.
Right?
So listen, I'm excited. I don't know what to expect.
Like
I
that's
didn't see.
Jennifer's mom. All right.
Right. I haven't seen any trailers or anything like that, but I'm excited to see
Oh, the
it. Like,
trailer's
just
out.
I didn't watch it. I haven't
Oh,
seen
okay.
it, but just I mean, it released the footage. Drop the show. I don't need a trailer. I'm gonna watch
Gotcha.
it. All right.
Okay. Speaking of dropping, just use that to transition. Drop my co-host. It's a solo pod now. No, I'm just kidding. Uh,
Well, yep. Messed up my hair trying
we
to
all
drop
know. Yeah, you see, trying to be at Freaknik. Um,
Make that picture. Okay.
um, Oprah dropped a bunch of weight using
Oh,
the,
oh, oh, Ozempic.
you know,
You
you
know.
know, exactly. We covered that on Food, Fitness, and Fun. But yeah,
Oh, I know you did.
yeah, Food, Fitness, and Fun podcast. We'll be discussing this in depth. But uh, Oprah used weight loss drugs after she said she never would, and shortly after that, um, she excuse me, I should say, Oprah admitted to using weight
Hmm.
loss drugs after saying she never would. And then shortly after that, it was announced that Weight Watchers is going all in on ALG1 drugs, which are the weight loss drugs. And then it was also announced just today or just yesterday, in the last 24 hours of us recording this here pod, that Oprah is no longer going to be an owner of Weight Watchers. She is giving away all of her shares.
Yes, and then I think the dollars will be dissolved and or the shares will be dissolved into dollars, and the money will go to the Smithsonian African American Museum. She's doing good with the money. She's doing good with the money.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
She
yeah, giving it back
is.
to her museum. Yep,
All right.
I'm wrong. It's not Oprah's museum.
It's not Oprah's museum.
Okay.
A lot of people gave to that museum to make it
Oops.
possible.
I mean, Oprah's got an entire section in there. Her and OBZ. Let's move right along. Or you got
I
some
mean,
thoughts on Oprah stepping down?
girl, you gotta do what you gotta do. If you decided to do your Ozempic, then it makes sense. It makes sense, and that's fine. She out there looking all snatched and whatnot.
You think she looks good?
Why are you asking me this?
Because you used the term snatched. So I'm asking if you think she looks good. I'm not even trying to diss her. I'm honestly asking. I know it may
I
have
mean,
come
I
across as a diss. To me, the diss is her dissing her fans and vowing to never use the drugs and then using the drugs. To me, that's the
um,
diss. But
I
I'm
think it's
asking
a
about
woman's
her,
prerogative to change her mind. But
or to me, that's the diss. But I think she dissed her fans. But
I hear you.
uh, my question is, do you think she looks good? And I'll tell you why. I'll ask after you answer.
I guess I haven't. I gotta be honest, I haven't looked that hard at, you know,
I mean, you
proportions or
called her
anything.
snatched.
Well, because I know she's lost weight, and you could tell that she's lost weight. But as far as like good on what scale, like I think she looks slim and she looks trim.
Got it.
Um,
I
if
asked
that
because
is
oh, go ahead, finish.
if that is good, like then it is. I don't know. I like I said, I didn't like look at her body and was like, "Ooh, look at Oprah's body." You know what I mean? So I, it's a weird question for me to answer because I guess I don't like pay attention to Oprah like that.
Got it.
Like I think I've seen her and been like, "Oh, she lost weight," but outside of that, I don't know what the body looks like. I don't know if she's got some extra curves now or less curves now. I couldn't tell you. That's
Got
why
it.
it's a weird question for me to answer.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I asked because there's a term developing. There's a term being used at this point about Ozempic bodies and how Ozempic gives you a specific look, and so that's why I ask. I don't know that it's true that that everyone who uses Ozempic develops the same body type, but it is something that is being said. So I was wondering what your thoughts were. There's a specific, yes,
what is it like an anti BBL?
yes. They're saying that it's called Ozempic butt. I was trying not to say it, but
Why?
that's the term. There was even an article about it. I believe it was in the New York
Ozempic
Post.
butt?
Yeah, that people are getting like saggy butts and that they look, although they're slimming, uh, they don't. By the way, I did not make this up. Y'all could go look for this. This is. I know people are gonna watch this and come at me because they're probably on Ozempic. That's fine. But that's what's being said. Um, there are people who are saying that yeah, when you have Ozempic, you're developing. You don't just look slim. You kind of have a specific look to you. And yeah, there was an article that came out a while ago. It's probably like 6 months ago at this point. I think it was the New York Post. I could be wrong, but yeah, they speak about Ozempic, but specifically, and yeah, I thought it was interesting. So I just was curious what you thought. Oprah's a person that we know. There are other people we may know, we may not know. We got some guesses. But since Oprah
Ah,
came out and said I used the weight loss drugs, and we know Ozempic is the most popular one, then we can assume that's the one Oprah was on. So that's why I asked, do you think she looks good?
you gonna have me looking at people's butts now?
I mean, I already look at people's butts, so welcome to the team is all I guess I'll say. Nothing wrong with looking at a good butt. Moving right along on some interesting news, less funny
Hmm.
news.
Okay.
Uh, Tell us about Jam Master Jay.
So Jam Master Jay um passed away. I think it's been 20 years now.
2002, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So over 20 years. Um, they finally charged two men with his murder. Um, and they are, it appears that it's people he knew, but they've just been convicted. So they are facing, I think I got my time frames wrong. They're facing, I think, at least 20 years in prison
Okay.
for the murder of Jam Master Jay. Um, if I'm not mistaken, the details are fuzzy right now. I don't have it in front of me, but I think he was killed he was in a studio,
Hmm.
and that's where he was killed. But yeah, so this is so long time later, but at least there's justice in his murder. At least
Yeah.
someone has been found guilty. But yeah, so this was a new development, something that came out in the last 2 days.
Yep.
So figured we should mention it. Listen, when it comes to that, put him under the jail. I don't really have too much to say about that. So, yeah.
Got you. Trying to pull it up real quick.
Mhm.
Whoa, not the comments section. A federal jury in Brooklyn found two men guilty of murdering Run DMC's Jam Master Jay. If you
Ooh,
recall,
excuse me.
Jay was fatally shot at a recording studio in Jamaica, Queens on October 30th, 2002, according to
Mhm.
CNN. Jay's childhood friend, Carl Jordan Jr., Jay's godson, and Jay's. Oh, no, no, I'm sorry. I read it wrong. Ronald Washington, who's Jay's childhood friend, and Carl Jordan Jr., Jay's godson, were convicted of murder while engaged in narcotics trafficking and forearm related murder. Reports state the defendants were going to be cut out of the lucrative deal because a drug dealer, later identified as Ralph Mulgrave, declined to work with Washington. During Mulgrave's testimony, he claimed that Jay, quote, wasn't a drug dealer, but had dabbled in drug sales to, quote, make ends meet. Jay's family has denied that claim. Per the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, which prosecuted the case, both defendants are facing a minimum of 20 years to life in prison or the death penalty. There you go. So, yes, indeed, those are people who are close to him,
Yeah.
were close to him, which is sad, but
Yeah.
unfortunately not uncommon. Um, it is great that these men have been brought to justice and that this case is finally, uh, I guess, over, so to speak, after many
Mhm.
years of his family and his fans waiting for justice to be served. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean, we'll see about sentencing. I guess we'll wait until later on. But the fact that they're getting a minimum of 20 years to life speaks volumes. Says that it's pretty clear what happened, what transpired, and that they need to be penalized for this crime. They took away a
Yeah.
legend. They took away a father. They took away someone who did a lot for his community. Um, and so, it was a really sad
Mhm.
moment in the culture.
Yeah.
There were lots of people who were under Jam Master Jay's tutelage and management that have said these things in the past. And so I'm glad that everyone is able to rest now and know that, okay, this is settled and these people will be doing time. Um, so I guess we'll see. Maybe we could report back after sentencing. Um, but seems like they will be getting a hefty amount of time, and rightfully so.
Yep.
So, yeah. So that's it. We start on a somber note and end on a somber note. Yay! The sad pod.
Yeah, but y'all got me dancing to Sexy Red
Rich baby
and
daddy.
them. Yeah. So I mean it's in between, it's in the middle. If you need to
Balance.
go back,
And
go
look at that
back.
Ozempic butt. Oh, my bad.
I don't have an Ozempic, but
I was talking about Oprah.
okay, I'm just saying because I don't have I would like an Ozempic stomach, I'll be honest, but that's for another time. Anyway, anyway, that's our pod. Until tomorrow. Bye.